Kant is one of the most famous philosophers in the Western world, but his ideas can be a bit tough to get through sometimes. But today we're going to focus on 5 rules from his philosophy that you can start using immediately. Rule no. 1. Act only according to that maxim which you can will to become universal law. We all make decisions every day, some small, some large, and these decisions often come down to a basic calculation. What will I get out of this? This rule tells us to broaden that perspective beyond ourselves. Now, when making a decision, imagine the results of your decision being applied to everyone around you. If you choose to steal someone's property because you want it more than they do, would you want everyone to be able to just take your stuff too? Obviously not. Therefore, stealing isn't something you should do. This principle comes from Kant's larger idea called the categorical imperative, which acts like a sort of guide for how we should interact with other people. In its simplest terms, the categorical imperative asks us to consider if our actions could work as universal laws. If not, then we shouldn't do them. For example, lying to your friend might not seem like a big deal, but if everyone lied to each other all the time, communication wouldn't exist. And if it didn't exist, human society couldn't either. So according to Kant, lying would be wrong no matter how good your intentions might be. Rule to treat humanity always as an end, never as a means. And this rule builds off of the first, but it also focuses on the way we treat others. When you talk to someone, you should think of them as a fellow human being, not simply as a tool to get what you want. Maybe you need help moving a couch and ask your neighbor if they could lend a hand. If they agree, they're helping you out of the goodness of their heart. But if you ask them because you know that they'll feel bad if they say no, you're using them as a means to an end. Kant believed that this kind of manipulative behavior was wrong, even if it's done with good intentions. Instead, you should try to treat everyone as you would want to be treated, with respect and consideration. So next time you go to talk to someone, remember that they're not just there to listen to you, they're there to share in a dialogue. Ask yourself, am I listening to them as much as I expect them to listen to me? Am I trying to understand their point of view? Or am I just waiting for my turn to speak again? Rule 3. Duty over desire. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't fun. A broken heart isn't always mended by a night out with friends. A long to-do list isn't shortened by hitting snooze. There are times where you have to go against your immediate desires for the greater good. It might not be popular, but Kant argued that following your duty was the only true path to morality. He wrote, "Act according to the rules of the categorical imperative, and you will not ask whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, whether it will bring fame or dishonor, whether people will approve or condemn it, whether it will advance your interest or harm it. For these are not the proper ends which a good will can and may pursue." Of course, it's easier said than done. Even when we know what our duty is, it can be difficult to follow through on it. But according to Kant, this rule is essential to morality and living a good life. Rule 4. Freedom is obedience to moral law. There's a common misconception that being free means being able to do whatever you want. But Kant challenged this conventional view of freedom, arguing that true freedom is actually found in obeying the moral law. He wrote, "Freedom is nothing else than the ability to make oneself the law of one's own actions." Let's take a closer look at what he meant by that. Imagine 2 friends planning to meet up at the mall. The first friend decides that they want to wear a blue shirt, while the second friend decides that they want to wear a red shirt. They both show up wearing their favorite color, and now they can't agree on whose choice is better. If the first friend says that blue is better and tries to convince the second friend to change their mind, then they're not acting freely. They're instead imposing their own choices on someone else. But if the first friend says, "I'm going to wear my blue shirt," and accepts that their friend has the freedom to do the same, then they're acting according to their own will. They've chosen what they wanted to do without forcing their choices onto someone else. This is what Kant meant when he said that freedom was obeying the moral law. It's the ability to make your own decisions based on your own reasons without forcing those decisions on others. Of course, this is easier said than done, and many of us struggle with imposing our own beliefs on others, or feeling forced to conform to the beliefs of others. But, according to Kant, this is the ideal state of being truly free. Rule 5. Enlightenment is the courage to use your own understanding. Most of us are taught from a young age to think for ourselves. We're told that it's important to be independent and make our own decisions. But this isn't always easy, especially when we're surrounded by people who believe differently than us. It can be scary to go against the crowd, but Kant argued that it's necessary if we want to be truly moral. He believed that enlightenment was the key to this process, and that it required courage. But what does this really mean? Well, it means thinking for yourself and not blindly following the beliefs of others. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to anyone else's beliefs. It simply means that you should carefully examine your own mind and decide what you believe for yourself. As the old saying goes, don't believe everything you hear and only trust what you see. But don't stop there. Just because you see something with your own eyes doesn't mean it's true. Take a close look at it, question it, find out why it's happening, and only once you've done all that, make a decision. Because, here's the thing, it's very easy to let others tell us what to think. After all, it's much easier to do that than to spend the time and energy thinking for ourselves. But if we want to be truly moral, we must be willing to think for ourselves, and not just accept what others tell us. And there you have them. 5 rules from Immanuel Kant's philosophy that you can start using immediately. Did any of these rules stand out to you? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.